some of what is on our heart with you today. But before we do, let's come into the moment. Just take a deep breath. Just relax. Notice those subtle sensations, the essence of who you are. Maybe just another deep breath and just bring yourself really present with where you are, the gift of this very moment. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Suzie.
Yeah, thank you. So what is our topic today, Malissia?
Well, I think what we'd love to gift you with today and share with you, our lovely audience and viewers, is the gift of safe trespass. We're going to have a conversation on what safe trespass means for ourselves and for others. So what do you think about that, Suzie? I made a little
Please,
post in our
please,
community post.
please do. I would like to know what you mean by safe trespass, because this was when you said those exact words to me, I thought, well, what does she really mean by that? So please share.
Thank you. Well, and I posted in our community, we figured out how to make community posts now. So please feel free to go and check out what we're going to be posting in there, blessing you and gifting you, which is loving words and loving ideas and loving connection, really there. So I posted a little bit in Safe Trespass, and I'll use I guess I'll use it as a prompt of our conversation of how I posted about that. So in the community post, I put Safe Trespass. Do we give others and ourselves safe trespass through our mind and our thoughts? Are we gentle and soft enough to allow loving kindness towards ourselves and others, even when we're wrong, they're wrong, whatever wrong is, or we're just frustrated? And then let's practice safe trespass today as we gently walk through the world and through our mind. So what I mean by safe trespass, as we discuss it today, and I get to hear Suzie's feedback at least, and then if any of you would like to comment and share and talk about it, we would love to know what your thoughts on safe trespass is. So safe trespass, I believe I heard it years ago from Eckhart Tolle and or possibly Thich Nhat Hanh, when it was just an idea of giving people safe trespass. When you think of somebody trespassing on your land, and you give them safe trespass, means that they get to walk through gently, they get to walk through unharmed, unimpeded. So if we give somebody safe trespass through our minds, let's say, safe trespass is we're thinking about them and we're not going to do them any harm with our thoughts by being judgmental, by being angry, by talking to them, down to them, about them in our mind. We're like, oh, I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to tell them what for. Do they have safe trespass? Because if that person was in front of you, would you talk to them the way you're thinking about them? Would you talk to them that way? Would you want them to know those thoughts? And are they from love? And do they make you, and here's the kicker, here's the catch. Do they make you feel better as you're thinking of them? And it's not just about other people. It's not about just people who did you wrong, the guy that cut you off in traffic, the person that said something to you out of turn. Maybe your friend did or said something you didn't like. They didn't show up when they were supposed to. They didn't call. They didn't do something they were supposed to. So it's beyond that. What about yourself? Do you give yourself trespass, a safe trespass? Do you think kind and loving thoughts to yourself all the time? Are you like, oh, I should have done that. Oh, I'm such a bad person. Or, oh, I'm such an idiot. Why didn't I do that? Oh, I always get this wrong. How are you talking to yourself in your mind? Are you giving yourself safe trespass through the land of your mind? Are you walking across that landscape unimpeded, unharmed, unjudged, kind and loving?
Mm.
Because if you can't do that to yourself, you do realize that it starts to overflow onto other people, or at least thoughts about other people. And here's the thing, is sometimes we think we get away with it. We think we get away with thinking really bad thoughts about ourselves or talking really negatively about ourselves, but we don't say it out loud, so nobody knows. But our energy tells on us and our
Mm.
frequency tells on us. So sometimes people come at us and they just seem to be so nasty. And we're like, where did that come from? I'm so nice to everybody. I'm so outwardly nice to everybody. I'm so giving. And then at the same time, if you actually look at that person, sometimes that person's being you to you. Sometimes what they're saying and doing and acting is the very energy you say and do and act in your head that you think nobody knows about. And they're showing up to mirror that back to you. And you're like, well, I don't like that. Then don't do that. Don't do that to yourself and don't do that to others. And sometimes we think we can get away with it about our friends and we think bad things and we, oh, that person. And then when they show up, oh, hi, how are you? And there's a sense of false, false to that, false sense of politeness to that. That sometimes we do because, well, we really don't want to be negative to them. So we're not actually being manipulative. We're not actually trying to be false or dishonest. Sometimes we've thought bad thoughts and we really don't stand behind those bad thoughts. And we don't want the other person to know because, well, they don't deserve that. And we don't really want them to think that or feel that way about us. But other times we really let that go and we get sloppy with our thinking, sloppy in our landscape. So we're not keeping up and tending our garden. And it's not safe for people to walk through. It's full of weeds. It's full of all kinds of things that they could trip over and get hurt in. And maybe there's snakes in the grass. Maybe you're the snake in the grass. And so that person doesn't have safe trespass because they don't know it. They think it's safe. They think it's a beautiful wild field, but it's full of snakes and bad things that you've left there with your negative thoughts. So it's not that you're trying to harm them, but they don't have safe trespass because they don't in your mind. And then it does show up on the outside. Sometimes that person doesn't call. They don't want to show up. They suddenly aren't talking to you as much as they used to. They don't seem as friendly. And you're like, why? I haven't done anything. I haven't said anything to them. They don't know what I've been thinking. They don't know what went on in my head. How can they know? I didn't tell anybody. I didn't gossip behind their back. I just kept it to myself. Yeah, but your energy, people, we read people's energy. We don't think we do all the time, but we know who loves us. We know when it's love. We know when it's inviting. We know when it's full of joy and when it's full of acceptance. When somebody's seeing us and loving us and all of our greatness and all of our wonderfulness, flaws and all. And we know when people are judging us and when they're pretending to like us, but there's something not quality about that, something false about it. So even though they put on a smile and like, hey, how are you? So good to see you. But you're knowing that they don't really think that. They don't believe that. Maybe they don't even say that behind your back. We know. We
Yeah.
can feel it. We all have an intuition that guides us. Sometimes we ignore it, sometimes we listen to it, but we always have that intuition that says that this person is authentically in our favor and is loving us and is supporting us. So that's what I mean by safe trespass. And I went on about that for quite a while. So Suzie, what do you think? How does safe trespass show up for you now?
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's more important to know what you're thinking on the inside really than what you're saying on the outside, because the inside is reflecting what all of those subconscious things that we're hanging on to, and it definitely affects our energy field, and I love what you've just shared because really it's the subconscious, all of those thoughts that we think that we never air, that are 95% of what is creating outside of us. Very rarely are we living through the conscious mind. So, it's so important. And what it actually brought me back to was being present and being in the moment with people, because when we can be present and be in the moment with people, we're not in the past with all of those old thoughts and judgments and beliefs, and we're not in the future thinking, where we're going or what snakes are ahead. We're actually right in this moment and we're experiencing them in their glory. We're seeing them as they really are without judgment. And I love that. And, integrity came up. Integrity is so important to me. And integrity is, our thoughts, our actions, our emotions, and our beingness all brought together in the same space. And, we can't really take thought into beingness when thought is what is leading the conversation. We've got to come into heart first and then lead from that present place, allowing the mind to be used for the heart. And yeah, I love safe trespass. Thank you for bringing that to me today, because it was a phrase that I hadn't really heard before, and it brought up a lot of questions in me. And I thought, well, what do you actually mean? And my gosh, it's so beautiful, and may we all practice it.
Yeah, and I'm not, I'll have to go back and look because this is years ago that I heard, I mean, it might have even been like 8, 9, 10 years ago that I heard Eckhart Tolle, I believe it was, that touched upon it. And then he just said something about, well, you give people safe trespass through your mind. And then he went on to whatever he was saying, and it didn't over explain it or iterate it, but it sunk in me in a way of like, wow, what is that? Like I thought on it, like you, like, what does that mean? And what would that mean for me? And really just to see, like, who do I give safe trespass to? And am I giving it to myself? And at the time when I was seeing somebody that I realized I wasn't always being as authentic to them I wanted to be. I mean, I certainly wasn't doing it maliciously. That as I was presenting myself and I wanted them to see me and wanted to be and be in our relationship, wasn't always how I was in my head about them when they would do or say something. Oh, I don't like that. And I caught it and I was like, and then I had to look back at my upbringing and really realize that I had a little bit of a tough past in lots of ways, but in this particular one I'll speak of today is, I was around some people that were, I'm just going to say it this way, is they were sloppy. They didn't, and I'm saying they're sloppy because they didn't know any better. They weren't raised in a way that knew better, so they were sloppy with their thoughts and with their actions and with their energy. And I say it in that way that it was sloppy is because they weren't choosing to line up and it wasn't even a conscious choice. They wouldn't have known how to. They wouldn't have known these words either. They weren't listening to the spiritual teachers and teachings and guides that I chose to listen to since a young age, just because I wanted something more than my life was giving me. And as I look back, I realized that I wasn't taught in a way that you say and you think and say and act in the way that should be in alignment and integrity. I wasn't taught that at all by the actions of the people around me who I loved and who were being versions of their best self. I'm not saying that they could have done better. They just didn't know and they weren't conscious and they weren't looking for maybe those answers that I went looking for. So they were a bit sloppy with their thinking. So they would say something. I would see somebody who I loved in my life be in front of somebody else and act a certain way and talk a certain way and do a certain way. And as soon as that person was gone, they would talk and act and say very different things about that person that they would never say if they wanted that person to stay in their life. And so it was very incongruent, very out of integrity. And I saw that, I mean, that was practiced all the time. And eventually had to learn that that's probably how I was being treated with. I didn't know it. And then I didn't realize I had picked up those habits myself, that I could show up a certain way, but was I actually being that way behind their back? And then I had to clean that up and be like, oh, do I want people, and it's very simple. Like, do I want people to act the way with me? No, no, no. So, show up that way. But then the mind thinking much later of like, oh, you can't just, you clean up. You got to make sure it aligns that how you treat people to their face is how you would treat them behind their back, so that, if they ever heard about you talk about, is it going to be clean and is it going to be something they want to hear? And is it, if they were around the corner, would you want them to know that? So that needs to be in alignment and cleaned up. But then it took many more years to realize, oh, but in your head too. We often don't know that one. Nobody maybe talks about that one. And certainly nobody that I was growing up with, because if that's the way they were acting in front of the person, and this is the way they talked and acted about the person behind their back, what were they thinking in their head? And I know because it was always a bit negative there, and negativity was the norm. There was a false sense of happiness. Sometimes you were a lot of times on eggshells with these same people who, when you were in true joy and happiness, they were kind of undermined it or undercut it, and there was this sense of negativity. You just wondered where it came from, because it wasn't even out in the open. You're like, where did that snake in the grass come from out of nowhere? So if we go back to that analogy of, if you're giving people safe trespass, so if you're imagining you're going across fields and fields and fields, you're in Ireland and you're walking across all these beautiful fields. I remember on a trip to the Aran Islands, and they had all these rock walls, and I'm going across fields and fields all the way to the cliffs, right? There was safe trespass no matter whose land I was on, right? And I could see really well if there were snakes or anything, and it was cold. It was pretty cold when we were there. And and I had very safe trespass. I didn't have to worry about what was out to get me. I didn't have to worry about getting caught up in any weeds because there was really not a whole lot in the terrain there because there's a lot of rocks and I guess it's Limerick. And what was interesting was if you think about yourself and people are going through the properties of all their friends. Do you feel safe in with every friend? Sometimes we can feel the difference. Like, oh, do I want to spend time with that person? Oh, do I want to go out and watch a movie? Sometimes you just want to go by yourself. Sometimes you want to go with that person. Sometimes you choose somebody else. And it's just a feeling. It's not always about what you'll talk about. It's not always about what you have in common about that movie, that show, that dinner, that thing. Sometimes it's about it's really down to how that person makes you feel. And
Exactly.
I'm going to say they give you safe trespass,
Mm,
hopefully in their mind and in their energy field, because they're in your mind, they're giving you loving thoughts. And so it's coming out in their energy and it's coming out in their words. So when you're with them, you really like being with them. You had safe trespass. You walk through their land and you can lay in the grass and you don't worry about any snakes. You don't worry about a misplaced power tool or a rake going to get you. You don't have to worry about stumbling over anything. They didn't leave it sloppy. They didn't leave it untended. They have a beautiful tended garden you get to walk through and be loved, and you can lay down and bask in it, bask in their beautiful land, bask in the sun, and then keep going because you're safe there. You're not held there. They're not judging you. There's not a sense of um, entitlement. There's not even a sense of you owe them anything. There's nothing. There's nothing that you have to do to enjoy that friendship and that love. You have safe trespass. And hopefully you offer them same thing, safe trespass. Come
yeah.
and go as you please. Enjoy my love and my friendship I have to give you. And the other ones, there's a lot attached to it. Not only maybe is it sloppy, you don't feel so safe walking through it. Maybe there's some energy that's off. And sometimes there's just a sense of you owe them something or you got to give them something in return for that love. Like there's a lot of conditional situation going on, a lot of conditional love going on in which you might not feel as safe walking through that. You know that, oh, I can talk to that person, but oh, I got to do this, or they want this for it, or if I walk through that, I need this for it. And so there's a sense of, I probably gotten off topic way out there, excuse me, but the sense of safe trespass being love.
Mm,
Can people walk through your beautiful property, have safe trespass, have a sense of love, have a sense of welcomeness, have a sense of safety, and and then offer you the same because we love that and that's connection with people. And then when people don't offer that, we can feel it. And for years of my life, I couldn't align all of that because I was raised in it. And like I said, there was this, here's how I am in front, here's how I am behind them, but what were they like in their mind? But you could feel it. It took
mm,
years for me to clean that up in myself because I didn't even know what it was that I was feeling. I didn't even know how to trust my instinct in that way because people would smile at you and then they'd be saying something behind your back. They'd smile at you and be thinking negative thoughts. And you're like, I see you smiling at me, but I feel something else coming from you. So you're like, oh, you don't know how to trust that person because they're feeling like a snake. You don't know when they're going to reach out and bite you because you're like, you're smiling at me, but it doesn't feel like you love me. And then they're saying, I love you, but they don't really feel like they mean it. Well, now I know what that is years later. A
mm.
lot of us still don't know, and a lot of us still aren't taught that we can just trust our instinct, just have safe trespass for ourselves and then give it to others. And when we don't feel that way with somebody else, it's okay to feel like, no, 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 I don't want to walk across that land. I don't want to spend time with you. I don't want to be a part of that because I don't feel safe there. And I don't even have to know what that's about. I just know that it's not love.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Beautiful place to end this recording on because it really is. It's so beautiful when you meet with somebody who is in that integrity, who says what's going on in the mind, what's going on in their heart,
Mm.
and it's all welcoming, and likewise you can feel when it's off. And it's really about learning to trust our instincts and then looking within to see whether that's coming from us or from them. So
And
thank
also just the idea that when you offer safe trespass, and when you know what it is for you and you know where things aren't aligned and you're like, oh, I can clean that up and align that better, then you know what it is you are feeling from other people, and that they may not be doing that, and you're like, oh, now I'm offering it, and now I'd like to receive that from the world, and that's the energy and the healthy friendships and relationships I do want to foster and create and give and receive,
Yep.
where you might have created toxic relationships in the past and been a toxic relationship in the past and not even known any better or known that you were doing it. So this is just an opportunity to look at your thoughts and ask yourself, am I giving myself and others safe trespass with loving kindness, with gentle and soft ideas and thoughts, with no judgment? And if I caught a judgment, just forgive it and surrender it and release it. And if I've got a little anger about that person, okay, that person irritated me. I got it. I feel it. I don't dwell in it and make it worse. Do I need to talk to them about it and clean it up? Or maybe I can just let it go, but it's safe trespass. You just create clean, healthy, loving energy, and it feels vibrant and it shifts from anything that was the old patterns.
Mm.
So I know I warbled on a long time this time, but I hope that you got something from it and enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed talking about it clearly. And thank you, Suzie, for being a part of this conversation by talking and being a part of the conversation so it wasn't a monologue.
Yeah,
And thank you, thank you,
it's-
thank you for anyone who was watching with us today. Please leave your comments below on anything about this that brought something up for you, or your idea of safe trespass, or what it means when you think thoughts that are out of alignment, or when they're in alignment, or when you can feel when there's something just off about somebody else. Do you feel safe trespass?
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful. Tend to your own garden.
Please like and subscribe and share, and come back for more.
Thank you.